folks, it's me, Michaela, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to my new couch. A round of applause for the couch. Thank you. Thank you. New couch, we love it. So, what you are about to see, because this is my first time filming an intro after filming an entire video, is a reading vlog. I think that's pretty obvious. At the beginning of this year, I made a 24 books in 2024 reading list, and I had done the same for 2023, and I reviewed my 2023 list at the end of the year, and I had actually only read a little over half of the books, I think, that I put on that reading list. So there's quite a few that I did not get around to, mainly because there was like a solid the middle half of the year where I forgot I made that list. So I just wasn't even thinking about it. But it exists, and there's still quite a few books on it for me to read. And what I decided for the month of March was to read a couple of those books. Read some of the books that I actually meant to read a year ago, and here we are. That's what we're doing. So stay tuned, keep watching, and see my thoughts on that. Good morning. Super quick little thing, because I'm going to be starting a book today, and it's going to be for a reading vlog. But I'm going to be starting reading Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukafka today, and I'm pretty excited about that. I have had a Libby loan come in and out for this for weeks now, because I've been putting it off. Not putting it off, I've just been reading other things. But I've been reading a lot of romance. This is definitely not romance. This is a literary suspense, I believe, and it is about a serial killer on death row, but it's told through the perspectives of all of the women in his life. So I'm kind of intrigued by that. I feel I've only really heard good things about it, so that's why we're going to be reading something very different for me, and I want to push myself outside of my comfort zone, and that's why I put this on my 23 books in 2023 list. But I did not read this in 2023, but I am going to be reading it in 2024. I'm reading the books that I meant to read a year ago. That's the whole point, right? It's never too late. That's the vibe of the video. But that's what I'm doing today. Nothing too much. I'll talk to you once I've read a bit of it, have some opinions, la-di-da-di-dee, da-da-da-da-do. But I'm running late for work and I really need to eat this breakfast, so there we go. Hello, I'm here for an update. I'm now somewhere between a third and halfway through Notes on an Execution. I'm reading it digitally, so I really lose I really lose any understanding of how large a book is when I'm reading it digitally. I know for most people that is a positive because they tend to read faster, but for me, I just read way slower when it's not physical. I don't know what's wrong with me. I am an anomaly. Is somebody drilling right now? Can you not? Friday morning, calm down. But I'm really liking it so far. The tension is and the suspense is really there. The way that it's structured, it's different than I thought it was going to be. When I kind of understood it to be a serial killer told through the women in his life, I was kind of thinking it was going to be retrospective kind of things, someone talking about it. I thought maybe it'd be an interview style or something like that, but it's not. So what it is that it switches between the day of the execution from the perspective of the serial killer, but also it's that part of it is told in second person point of view, which is the vibes are really eerie. The vibes are weird. It's really good for the atmosphere that it's trying to create, but I personally don't like it because it's uncomfy, because it's a serial killer point of view, but then it's saying you, and I'm ugh, blah, blah, blah. But then I see what you did there and I like it, but I don't like it, but I like it, you know? And then the rest of it in between that, while it's counting down in his perspective until the time of his execution, it's going back in time. There's three women. There's Lavender, his mother. There's Safi, who is a girl he knew when he was a child. And then Hazel, who is someone that he knew when he was a little older, young adulthood. It starts and it's Lavender 1970 whatever, and then it's telling Lavender's point of view, but it's from a period of his life that kind of tells his story. It's really interesting. I love that it's telling the story of the serial killer and perhaps how he got to where he is, but without actually telling his story. You're actually learning about the women and how their lives have been affected, and also like it's really focused on them, which I like. And then it's also because, you know, like serial killer, it's kind of like solving crime, but also, you know, like the end result, but it's like how you get there. It's like the process, which has been intriguing. But like really the main thing for me so far has just been the absolute constant like layer of mild suspense, because you know who this man grows up to be, and then you're reading it and you're like, this situation, and you're like, where is this going? Where is this leading? For like minor things to bigger things, it's like always there in the back of your mind, which is like so effective. I would say like the only thing I'm not like, he's like, sometimes I'm just confused. Sometimes I'm reading things and I'm confused about what's happening. While I kind of like the flowery, I don't think flowery is the right word, but like, you know, like that kind of more, my brain's not working because it's Friday morning, for lack of a better term, artistic prose, is that like sometimes it's just like not straightforward enough for me to understand like what's actually happening in the moment, because it's getting like a little too like metaphorical, all that kind of jazz. But I am really liking it so far. I'm gonna say like it's sitting at a 4, and I'm like, man, I really should have read this last year, like I said I was going to, because this is a good book. But that's where I'm at. I'll give you another update when I'm a little bit more into it. But that's my thoughts so far, and I need to get to work, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm here for a quick little update for my reading of Notes on an Execution. Ew, it's snowing again? Damn, I thought that was over. Anyway, Notes on an Execution. I now am about like 3/4 of the way through, and I'm like kind of getting excited for the end of it to see how it's all gonna play out. I did kind of get like a little uninterested in this middle section. It's not like it was like bad, it was just like, also it may be because for whatever reason, look, I'm reading this digitally because I'm like loaning it through the library, and for whatever reason my brain, when it's reading on a screen, is like, it's nighttime, good night. So that's kind of hard to make progress in it, because it's like every time I go to like pick up the book, I start reading a few pages and then it's like nap time. So I'll include that in my judging of it. But I did find like the middle section kind of died down in interest for me. But with the bit that I just finished reading, it's like, whoop! It's like, whoop! We're back up. I'm like, whoop! I'm excited. I need to know what happens. So that's where we're at. The middle of the book kind of like started focusing more specifically on the women and their stories themselves, and less on the serial killer. It's telling their parts of the story, but when he's not there, like, so it is just more about them, and like that's nice. It's nice to like, I like that, but in terms of like suspense and thrill, it's not there anymore. And so I think that's why my interest, like, it wasn't as peaked, not because I like didn't care and I didn't want to know about the women, but like the exciting icky feeling that you have in your gut where you want to know like where this is going, tell me what happens already, is like kind of missing because he's not there in those parts of the story. It still is like giving you things that come out later, like the way things are being revealed is so good. It's just that like the middle of the book just like died a little bit. Like the beginning of the book, first third was like 4 stars, and then the second third has been like 3. Still good, but I just wasn't hooked the same way. And you know, like, that is what it is. So I'm thinking that the end is probably gonna hook me again. I'm probably gonna love it. We'll see where my rating lands at the end of this, but I'm thinking I'm probably gonna finish it today because it's Sunday. So I'll like tell you about the book when I'm done with the book. Final thoughts incoming. Hello. So I finished reading Notes on an Execution like over a week ago, and I'm only now just realizing that I never actually filmed a final thoughts clip for you, because I finished the book and was like, I need to mull and think about my overall thoughts on this book, you know, like I need to live with it, and then I'll make my little clip for my final thoughts. And then I just like forgot that I had final thoughts, so we're dealing with that. But here I am now. I'm here and I have final thoughts. I ended up giving Notes on an Execution 4 stars. I thought it was a really good book. I found the ending to be really intriguing. I found it to be like done quite well, and I thought it was both like very suspenseful, and you know, there was some like twisting reveals that were really interesting and good. I liked it. Overall, really good read. I think the main thing about this book is that it's like so thought-provoking about the justice system and like how we become who we are and the circumstances that make people into what they like. Everything is so gray. Nothing is black and white, even things that you think are. And even if like some aspects of something is very black and white, all of the things that come to make that situation like come to fruition is so complicated and so complex. So it was just like really fascinating. It made me think a lot. It's a heavier book. Don't go into this book thinking it's going to be just like a fun thrillery suspense about a serial killer, because it is not that. It is definitely a literary suspense, and I think it does a really good job of doing that, of being something that has something to say, that is there to make you think and to make you ask questions while also being entertaining and suspenseful, and a read that's keeping you hooked and keeping you reading. So I definitely do recommend it, and I'm definitely really glad I did read it, even if it's like a year after I said I was going to read it. But I am now going to be starting my next read for this little reading books I was supposed to read a year ago thing that I'm doing, and I think it's going to be Jade City by Fonda Lee. I have both Jade City and also A Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde on Libby Loan right now, but I think I'm going to read Jade City because I'm not quite sure if I'm in the mental mood to be reading a classic right now. And the thing is that The Picture of Dorian Gray is like unlimited copies on Libby, so I can read that literally like any time. I don't have to wait for it. And my Jade City loan like literally just showed up, and I think I'm gonna read that. So I'm gonna get started on that. I'm really hoping I'm gonna like it. All I really know about Jade City is it's like a urban fantasy kind of like mafia mob vibe, with Jade being like, Jade is where the magic comes from in the fantasy world, and I think there's like 2 different mob families that control it and they're fighting or something. But I'm interested, I'm intrigued, I've heard so many good things about it, and I can't believe I'm finally getting around to it. So here we are, Jade City, let's go. I am reading this digitally again, so here's to hoping that I don't fall asleep, because apparently I can't read on a screen. I read from a book all the time at night, during the day, whenever. Never feel sleepy when reading a book. When I'm reading on my phone or my iPad, night time for me, baby. I don't know what it is that triggers that in my brain, but it's happening. But anyway, I'm gonna go start Jade City, and I will get back to you with my initial thoughts. There we go. Rambling over for the time being. Hello, popping in for a quick initial update on Jade City before I head to work today. I just made it to like just past the first interlude in the book, which I did not know there were interludes until I came across the first one. But basically I've read part 1, so I'm like 150-ish pages in, and I am really liking it so far. I will say a little bit I'm feeling like kind of like no plot, all vibes. Like there's definitely a plot, but it feels much more like we're just following the daily lives of the people in the clan, which is basically like there's 2 clans, No Peak, which is the clan we're following, and then the Mountain, which is like the other major clans. They're like other small ones, but they're kind of not really in the picture. The 2, they're like on the brink of like a clan war, you know? So you can kind of like feel that coming, but in the meantime, it's kind of just been like, let's see what this person's doing, and this is what this person's doing. It's kind of felt like everyday living. And I'm not saying that as a negative, because it really isn't a negative for the book for me. It's just something that I've noted, and I feel like if you're someone who doesn't like that kind of atmosphere in the plot of their books, then you might not like this. It's also very political, which I love. I really enjoy the like mind game, planning out, you know, long game politics of things in fantasy books. I do enjoy that kind of style, so that's been really fun for me. But again, like if you don't like political books, ooh baby, this is probably not going to be the book for you. But I'm having a really good time. Interlude 1 left on quite the cliffhanger, which is why I've read past it, because I was like, girl, I need to know what's happening. I'm also really enjoying the writing, just in general. It feels very, it's not flowery, but it's just like there's certain sentences I read how they're described. I'm like, oh my god, that's like really good. Like it's like has this slight poetic kind of nature to it with like metaphors and things to describe stuff, or like these like similes that are like, wow, amazing. I love that. So I've been really liking it so far. I'm glad I finally got around to it. It's kind of feeling like maybe like a 4-star right now, but of course there's still like so much of the book left to read. I'm like barely into this book. It's like 460 pages or something, and I'm like 150 pages in. So like a lot could happen to make me change my mind on that right now. But as of right now, 150 pages in, I'm feeling like 4-star read. So I'm gonna read some more and then I'll come update you again. Hello. Another pre-work update here with me and Ruby on Jade City. I'm now like, gosh, I want to say I'm like 300-ish pages in now. Like I'm getting close to the end. And by close to the end, I mean like there's like a third of the book left, but like we're not talking about that. I like finished just past like interlude 2, so I'm into the 3rd part, and I think there's one more interlude to go with the book. But it's getting really good. It's getting really interesting. The way that the 2nd part ended was like a slap in the face. Like did not see that coming, did not think that was going to be happening. Oh my god. And the consequences of that in the book, like things are getting intense, and I'm now very much understanding why the 2nd book is called Jade War. Okay, because there's a lot of tension, the like political aspects of it, the mind gaming, manipulation, thoughts, plans, things of the clans is really like amped up, and I find that so interesting. Like I love reading about these kind of topics and reading books that like have these kind of interactions and have these thought processes from characters involved, because I think the dance and the balance of politics in these kind of settings are like so interesting, and because it's like fantasy, you can just have like a lot of fun with it. But I also think it's done really well, so I'm really enjoying it. Still like a 4-star, just because the first part of the book was like a little slow to get into. I can see why somebody could start this book and then like see that it's like 500 pages and then get like 50 to 100 pages in and just be like, maybe not, and like put it down. And also if you don't like political mind games and strategy kind of style books in fantasy, like you're just not gonna like this. You're not gonna like it. But I do like strategy and political mind game stuff. So I'm loving it, and that's fantastic. That's wonderful. I have to say, I do really like the characters. I like their motivations. I kind of see where this plot is going now, maybe a tad, though I feel like it's still probably going to hit me with a bunch of twists and turns that I'm not expecting. It's like I'm really like hooked now. Ever since basically right before the end of part 1 hooked me, and I have been hooked. I have remained hooked. The hook is still there. I cannot take the hook out. I am a fish on the line of Jade City. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm like kind of hoping I can finish the book today, but I really like don't have high hopes that I'll be able to finish the book today, but we'll see. You never know. Maybe I'll overachieve, but in the meantime, I need to go to work. So that's my update. Really liking it. Super strategy, political, mind game, mob boss vibes, but make it fantasy. I feel like I haven't talked much about the magic in this, and I feel like it's because it's so integrated well into the story. Like it just feels really like natural. I do find it a tad confusing. There seems to be like different kind of powers that they all can get by wearing the jade, and only certain people like genetically can wear the jade without kind of like losing their minds. It's all very interesting. I feel like it's all woven, like the magic system and the way it works is very well woven into the politics and the structure of the world. And although I do find it confusing a little bit about like how exactly they're able to do these things, I kind of just like I also haven't questioned it, like, because it just happens, and then I'm just like, okay, yeah, totally, I believe in it, makes sense. Do I remember all of the different kind of techniques or whatever they could do? No, but I just read it and then I just accept my fate and I like it, so that's where I'm at. But now I really need to go to work, so I'm going to work, and I will see you when I am done this book. So apparently this is, in fact, the video in which I forget to film final thoughts, because I forgot to film my final thoughts on Notes for an Execution, and I have now forgotten to film my final thoughts on Jade City. Now, my excuse for this is that I went on vacation. Like, I finished the book, I had to really quickly pre-film my March wrap-up, and then I went on vacation for a week and like didn't even think about it. Got back, was like, oh my god, I need to go edit and post that video, and was like, oh, I never did that thing. I never did it. She, in fact, did not film her final thoughts. Like, I thought, in my brain, I kind of thought I did, but that was actually my March wrap-up and not my final thoughts for this video. But here we are. It is like 2 weeks later after I finished Jade City. But I did finish it, and it was really good. I ended up giving it 4 stars just because the whole first third of it was pretty slow to get into it and hook me, but like the final, I think I had like 160-ish pages left to read on that Friday after my last update, and I read that entire the rest of the book that evening. Like, I just like sat down on my couch and I just like read the whole thing. One go, did not stop, read like 200 pages to finish the book because I didn't want to put it down. It was so good. It was really enthralling, and like the way it like just keeps escalating was wild. Some of the twists, the reveals, the way things played out, it was like so exciting. Such a great finale ending. Sets up, I think, the idea and concept of where we're going to be going in Jade War really well, and I'm really excited for like more of the politics to take place in Jade War. Like, this kind of like mafia, mob, boss, fantasy, war politics is like really my vibe in a book, so I'm loving it. I was 100% correct when I put this series on my 23 books in 2023 list because I thought I would love it, and I really did. I was thinking about giving it a 5-star, and I didn't, because I just kind of didn't get 5-star feels, and I think it was because of the bit of the slow beginning. And also I think that as much as the magic system with the Jade is really well interwoven into the world building and it feels really natural, I also don't think it was explained necessarily super well, because basically it's like the Jade makes them superhuman. If they have too much Jade, they like can't handle it, and they'll have like, you know, repercussions from that, generally in the form of losing their like mental stability. But it's definitely like also described that they're able to do like certain things, whether it's like they can go really fast, or like they have extra strength, or this like stealing where like they basically make they can like take impacts. There's also like this like channeling of energy, I think, and it's not really well described on like all the different ones they can do, how exactly they do that, if they can do multiple of them at once, I think, or like just like how all that works, how some people are better at certain parts and aspects of it than others. There's just like questions about the magic system I have, and I was having while reading the book, and I think that's also like why I wasn't getting like the 5-star feels with it. But I also think that if I reread the book and I also read it physically, because I did read this digitally, and I think that personally was a mistake for me, because I know that I don't like reading digitally, and I know that I read slower digitally, and I'm less likely to want to pick up a book if I know I'm reading it digitally, because it's just not a format that I enjoy. So I think if I read this physically as a reread, I would probably give it a higher rating. But for like this current reading experience that I had with Jade City, it was like a 4-star and not a 5. So that's kind of where we're at. But I feel like this was a really successful vlog in the terms of like, I made a list of books I wanted to read because I thought I would really like them. I finally read them a year after I was supposed to, and I really enjoyed both of them. And I think, you know, that means I've had a successful time here. So that's kind of like where I'm finishing this video off. Do let me know your thoughts on either of these books if you've read them. I believe like Jade City is probably a bit more popular of a book than Notes on an Execution, but I'm also just like not really part of the circles for people who tend to read more of the like literary genres on booktube and stuff as fantasy, so it might just be that like I haven't seen it. But I would love to know your thoughts on these books. If you're like thinking you might pick them up based off of my experiences and thoughts, let me know. I also think that I might make like another reading vlog, reading a couple more books from my 23 books in 2023 kind of reading list, and you know, see how they go, because there's definitely more on there and I would like to read all of them ideally before the end of 2024, so I'm not like 2 years behind on that list. But then I also have to read my 24 books in 2024 too, so I should probably do an update on how that's going because I'm probably behind on that as well. But anyway, if you like this video, give it a like. If you happen to like me, consider subscribing. I'd be happy to have you. And with that, I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.